What if the entire AI boom has almost nothing to do with chatbots? What if the real money isn't in the clever text on your screen, but buried in chips, concrete, steel, and electricity, in a race so expensive that companies are betting hundreds of billions of dollars on a future nobody can actually prove yet? This is the story of the AI money machine. And almost nobody watching it fully understands how it actually works. Let's start with the illusion. When most people think about artificial intelligence, they picture a chatbot answering questions, or an app generating images in seconds. That's the story sold to the public. It's approachable, it's magical, it fits in a headline. But that story is the tip of an iceberg so massive that the visible part barely represents 1% of what's actually happening underneath. To understand the real machine, you have to follow the money backward, starting from the chatbot and working down to where the actual fortunes are being made. Think of it like an iceberg tour. Tourists take photos of the tip poking out of the ocean, assume that's the whole thing, and move on. Meanwhile, the part doing all the real damage, the part large enough to sink a ship, sits hundreds of feet below the surface, invisible unless you know exactly where to look. The AI industry works the same way. The chatbot is the photogenic tip. Everything underneath it is where the real story and the real money actually lives. Every time an AI model answers a question, generates an image, or writes a piece of code, it's running enormous mathematical calculations across specialized computer chips. These aren't ordinary chips. They're called graphics processing units, or GPUs, originally designed for rendering video game graphics. But it turns out they're extraordinarily good at the kind of math AI needs. One company makes the vast majority of the world's most advanced version of these chips, Nvidia. For years, Nvidia was known mostly by gamers and hardware enthusiasts, a company that made graphics cards for people who wanted smoother frame rates in their favorite video games. Then the AI boom hit, and suddenly every major tech company on Earth needed as many of Nvidia's chips as they could possibly buy. Demand exploded so fast that companies were reportedly waiting months, sometimes over a year, just to get their orders filled, with executives personally calling Nvidia's leadership to plead for a larger allocation. Nvidia's valuation rocketed from tens of billions of dollars to becoming one of the most valuable companies in human history, built almost entirely on selling the picks and shovels for an AI gold rush, rather than gold itself. It's the oldest trick in the history of any resource boom. During the California gold rush, most miners went home with nothing. The people who reliably got rich were the ones selling the shovels, the tents, and the blue jeans. In this modern version of that story, Nvidia is the shovel seller, and right now, business has never been better. But chips alone don't run an AI model. They need somewhere to live. And that's where the next layer of the machine reveals itself: data centers. Picture a building the size of several football fields, packed floor to ceiling with servers, humming around the clock, consuming as much electricity as a small city. Now imagine dozens of these buildings being built simultaneously across the world by companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta. These aren't small investments. Some individual data center projects cost tens of billions of dollars apiece. Big tech companies have collectively committed to spending hundreds of billions of dollars building this physical infrastructure, betting that whoever controls the most computing power will control the future of the entire industry. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Building that many data centers requires an almost unthinkable amount of electricity. So much electricity, in fact, that some tech companies have started signing deals to restart old nuclear power plants, just to guarantee enough energy to keep their AI operations running. Utility companies in certain regions have reported that a single new data center campus can require as much power as an entire mid-sized city. Local power grids are being reshaped, expanded, and in some cases strained, specifically to feed this machine. So follow the chain again. Chatbots need models. Models need computing power. Computing power needs chips. Chips need factories and rare materials, some of which are mined and refined in only a handful of countries on Earth, adding an entire layer of geopolitical tension most people never think about when they ask a chatbot a simple question. Data centers need land, cooling systems, and staggering amounts of electricity. Electricity needs power plants. Every link in that chain has become its own multi-billion-dollar industry, feeding off the promise of artificial intelligence, before a single company has proven it can turn a consistent profit from the technology itself. At the peak of this spending spree, valuations reached numbers that stopped making intuitive sense. Companies with limited revenue and years of losses were valued in the tens of billions of dollars, based almost entirely on projections of what they might become. Investors poured money into AI startups at a pace that echoed previous technology bubbles, betting that being early to the winning company would matter more than actual current profitability. And this is exactly where the uncomfortable question starts creeping in. Is any of this actually profitable yet? It's the question every investor should be asking, and the one most headlines conveniently skip over. The honest answer, for most companies in this race, is not really, not in a way that justifies the scale of spending. Running these massive AI models is extraordinarily expensive. Every single query, every generated image, every chatbot conversation costs real computing resources, real electricity, real money. Several major AI companies have reportedly been losing money on every dollar of revenue they bring in, spending far more on infrastructure and computing power than they're currently making back from customers. They're betting that scale and future breakthroughs will eventually make the economics work. But nobody can say for certain when that day arrives, or if it arrives at all. This is the turning point of the story, the part that should make anyone paying attention a little nervous. Because history has seen this pattern before. Massive infrastructure buildouts, fueled by extraordinary optimism, financed by investors terrified of missing the next big thing. The railroad boom of the 1800s, when companies laid down thousands of miles of track based on wildly optimistic projections of future demand. The dot-com bubble of the late 1990s, when companies with barely any revenue were valued as if they'd already conquered the entire internet. Both created real, lasting infrastructure that outlived the companies that built it, and both also wiped out enormous amounts of investor wealth when reality finally caught up with the hype. Some of the world's most respected investors and economists have already started raising red flags, warning that AI spending has outpaced any realistic near-term return, and that a painful correction could be coming for companies that overextended themselves chasing the next breakthrough. It's the classic warning sign of every bubble in financial history, when the size of the bet starts to matter more than the size of the actual, provable return. But here's the twist that makes this story different from a simple bubble warning. Even if some companies collapse, even if some valuations crash back down to earth, the physical infrastructure being built right now doesn't disappear. The data centers stay standing, the chips keep working, the power plants stay online. Just like the internet cables laid during the dot-com crash eventually became the backbone of the modern internet we all use today, the AI infrastructure boom may leave behind the foundation for whatever comes next, regardless of which individual companies survive the shakeout. So when you hear about the AI revolution, remember this: the chatbot is just the storefront. The real money, the real risk, and the real bet on the future is happening in chip factories, data center construction sites, and power plant control rooms, largely invisible to the people typing questions into a search box every single day. Whether this turns out to be the greatest infrastructure investment of our generation, or one of the biggest financial bubbles in modern history, may not be clear for years. History rarely announces which category it belongs to while it's still happening. That clarity only ever seems to arrive afterward, once the winners and the wreckage are both easy to point to. But one thing is certain right now: an enormous amount of money is being bet on a future nobody can fully guarantee, by some of the smartest and most powerful companies on the planet, all racing each other toward the same uncertain finish line. If you want to understand where the world's money is really flowing next, subscribe, because this story is still being written in real time.